Welcome to PolyCast, a civilization podcast focused on game strategy. CanusAlbinus,
Makahlua,
TheMeInTeam,
MegaBearsFan.
I was just imagining Canus flipping a switch and like the Death Star laser turning on sound plays. Yeah, exactly.
422, Red 56, whatever else they say in football huddles. Hut.
Hi.
And hello everybody, and welcome to PolyCast, episode 422. I am CanusAlbinus, and I am joined together with our whole group today. Makahlua.
Wow. Okay, my brain's going to be like this today. Reports of our death are greatly exaggerated.
TheMeInTeam.
Today is the day I bring you llama beans.
And MegaBearsFan.
I really need to stop staying up past midnight on PolyCast recording nights.
That's impossible.
Try waking up past midnight because you fell asleep after you got back from the eye doctor yesterday.
That'll be good for the sleep schedule, no doubt.
So, do you have like X-ray vision now?
No, but I could probably, whenever I get the new prescription, I could probably use them to start a fire.
Oh. You got the same kind of eyes I got, where they make the lenses really thick.
Yeah, I mean, thank goodness for modern materials that can make them not Coke bottle thick, but it's still, you could definitely, yeah.
The best troll for X-ray vision would be that your eyes can pick up X-rays.
Oh no, that would be awful.
Yeah.
Ow.
That would definitely be a troll. Like
I'm looking at the sky and all I can see is red.
X-rays are now visible to you. Good job on your new superpower, quote unquote.
I didn't get a chance to ask this because I didn't know about it before my grandma died, but I should have asked her to look at like an ultraviolet light and see if she saw something different, because she had cataract removal. And apparently when you remove your cataracts, you can see some ultraviolet light.
Yeah, apparently some people, like a very small percentage, also have the ability to perceive colors, like extra colors.
Well, and my understanding is that women tend to have a slightly wider range of vision than men do, and can see a little bit further into the ultraviolet and infrared on the other end, just a tiny little bit.
On average, it varies person to person because it depends on exactly what's going on with the X chromosome, from what I understand. And because they have two of those, they're a bit more likely.
I just know. Go ahead.
The number of times it's been, you can't see the difference. For me, just talking to a guy, you can't see the difference between these two colors. Like, I'm looking here, to me, it's blatantly obvious, and they're like, it's all the same.
Well, Mackie, there are 8 colors. Exactly 8 colors and no other.
I'm talking about this should be considered the same. Like, this is still a blue, but it's two different, saturation and hue of blue, but they can't tell that that's a different saturation in hue. And I'm like, but.
I actually can tell the difference between different colors of blue, kind of. But I don't think I would use hue and saturation to describe it, because I'm not a color person.
Yeah, I'm struggling to describe what I mean there.
I don't think I'm out of the ordinary either direction in this regard.
I'm
not colorblind to my knowledge, and then, I don't know. I don't feel like I can pick up anything special either. I
spent half my early childhood, or my early teenage years, with, what do we call it? Psychosomatic color disruption, something or other. And it's like, my brain was trying to tell me something, so it made my eyes see only black and white. And it was really strange. Very gray world. I did not like it. And I have yet to find any type of doctor who can explain exactly what that meant. But we do have an intro topic. It's about this Scottish guy who blew up London. It's a YouTube video, and he's playing in Scotland. It's supposed to be a famous guy. I don't recognize the name. What's his name? Edit here to make it sound like I know what I'm talking about. Brian Limond, aka Limmy.
They're calling him Limmy in the forum thread.
Apparently a very famous comedian / YouTuber. And
he looks familiar, so I think I've seen him do something at some point.
Probably.
He went for the only real victory condition, so I can definitely respect that.
Yeah, he decided to give a nice several-minute speech before clicking the Nuke London button, and then did it again, and then won domination. It was quite funny.
Well, I mean, given general feelings between the Scots and the Brits, I'm not surprised.
And even comedians know the correct way to play Civilization, unlike some of the fan base who like doing Chobo victory condition.
I resemble that remark.
Listen, just because you're not a man of that particular culture doesn't mean culture isn't a victory.
Culture is a victory.
Culture is at best a means to an end.
Well, yeah, and the end is win.
And the end is to make armies, wars and armies. That's what culture is good for.
Well, aren't all victories technically culture victories? I mean, a military victory is just a martial culture victory.
It is the only way to be sure that your culture is adequately represented throughout the world.
I thought that was supposed to drop your nuke from orbit.
Or the tungsten rod.
There's lots of ways to get to the goal, Mackie.
Apparently, one of the cities is named after a shopping mall in Glasgow.
News time, I guess.
Okay, that was a quick topic then.
Well, it's an intro topic. It's supposed to be like not like we're showing the veil a little bit, but the intro topic is supposed to be something that takes like 2 minutes.
All right, so now for something a little more meaty. I think it's been well over a month now. AI in Games released a video titled "How Machine Learning is Transforming the Video Games Industry." It's part of their ongoing AI 101 video series, which is quite good. I highly recommend it. I've watched most of these, if not all of them. And this particular video doesn't talk specifically about civilization, but we have brought up the topic or the question of whether future Civ games like Civ 7 or Civ 8 could potentially use machine learning to make better AI players. And whenever we would talk about that, we would usually say, well, that's probably not happening anytime soon because there's several problems with that. And this particular video actually talks about pretty much all the things that we've said before about why we aren't going to expect our Civ leaders in Civ 7 to be, being played by an actual AI. The biggest one, of course, being that training AIs to play like that is very resource intensive, and you have to run like millions of simulations. And if you make any changes to the game rules at all, you basically have to redo all of that stuff because it's really hard to just go in and make minor tweaks to behavior. Which is something we've talked about before, and we all know how frequently Firaxis makes small tweaks to the rules of its civilization games.
That said, if you were to optimize the game better, it might be possible, especially if you could run instances of it without having to render everything graphically or whatever. So it's literally just doing computations.
Well, one of the things that you could probably do is you could probably try to train like a general Civ playing AI and then use its performance to identify weaknesses in your actual like program strategies and then adjust the programming accordingly. But you're not going to have
that though.
Oh yeah, I'm sure they do. But you're not going to have the AI playing as the AI civilizations in a single player game. Like at best, they're going to be they're just running training games and then using that to inform how they program the AIs.
I think you could if you really wanted to. The bigger barriers are probably just people with the expertise to do it.
Right.
And needing to design the game from the start in a way that is optimized so you can actually do that much training.
Well, from a technical level, sure, it is absolutely possible. Like we have AIs that do things like play StarCraft, but the difference between the AIs that play StarCraft and trying to make the AI similarly play Civ is StarCraft is a, mature game that's been out for a very long time and is not getting updates every, few weeks or every month or whatever.
It was getting balance changes during the Alpha Star project, though. The big difference there is what I was saying. Blizzard cooperated with the team in such a way that they could do tons of training without like running the game live, so to speak. So it could run through instances of the game at incredible speeds.
It is entirely.
You wouldn't even build you literally couldn't perceive things happening at that speed as a human.
It is entirely.
And
possible.
that actually lets them do the millions of games without it taking like a year to do it.
You definitely wouldn't be doing the testing on a desktop version of Civ that has all the stuff turned on. You would want to basically have the game. Theoretically, you could turn off a switch that says, hey, don't render any of this stuff, and it would do it that way. But then the issue becomes how much of the actual programming, as in the logic, is in the graphics processor. And since the AI developers love using the graphics processor stuff, it may or may not make a difference in a modern game.
Yeah, which is why I said you'd have to like design it from the start for that to be a possibility, most likely.
Like, we were just finally getting to the era where we could start using GPUs as GPUs again, but now they have to be used as AI stuff now again.
Well, when they're not doing crypto mining.
Well, that's what I meant. The crypto mining had gone downhill because Ethereum was like, no more.
That said, they are using machine learning for other aspects of game design already, which is what the video is covering.
Yeah, the large chunk of the back end of this video is talking about the other ways that AI is being used, and it's pretty interesting. Like, I didn't realize that they were using AIs to do certain animation scripting the way that they do to blend animations and stuff like that. I mean, it makes sense once it was told to me. I'm like, oh yeah, okay, sure, of course they are, but it never occurred to me. And then also things like texture upscaling. And not just for like remasters of old games, but even for like new games, they'll use some AI processes for texture upscaling. And then the other big topic that the author of this video talked about was Q&A. So even if you're not having the AIs play the game for the purposes of creating opponent AIs for the player to play against, a lot of companies still have AIs play the games in order to like find bugs and stuff like that.
There have also been in recent, very recent stuff, fan mods of various games that have been screwing with using ChatGPT to make their NPCs try to say things in context to varying degrees of effectiveness. But you are seeing that pop up now, and it would not surprise me if inside of 10 years we start seeing the AI be pretty good at that.
Yeah, and another thing that I wouldn't be surprised to see happening, especially at a studio like Firaxis, I have no idea if they're actually doing this or not. I don't know if anyone else has heard of this, but you could probably have AIs play through the games for balance testing as well. So
they do,
run a bunch of games with an AI playing as each of the different civilizations and playing against each other, and find out, hey, is there one civilization that this AI is like winning the game with way more often than others?
They do
and
that
if so,
every night. They run a big simulation set every night, and then every morning they check and see what's broken with it.
Oh, do they?
And they've done that for years.
The problem there, of course, being if your goal is balance, then there are a lot of factors that go into why a Civ might perform well in a particular game, and that may or may not track to just a particular nation's stats being good versus not.
Sure.
I mean, they designed the game. They have some pretty strong, educated guesses as to why something is performing well versus poorly in AI hands. But it's not trivial to do, even if you're a true expert at the game.
But if you run like the game, millions of samples with like the same AI playing under different map conditions and stuff like that, and you do see one Civ winning more often than others, that's probably going to come down to one of two things. Either, yes, the Civ is too strong, or the particular AI that you were employing like plays the game in a way that makes it better at playing that Civ. Because there's always going to be bias and stuff like that. Because at the end of the day, you still have to have, even with AI and machine learning, you still have to have a human or a team of humans write the learning algorithm. And that is always going to introduce certain biases into the algorithm itself. So, you might have a Civ playing AI that was written by someone like TheMeInTeam that thinks there's only one victory type.
And because there is only one victory type.
And AI is, of course, going to probably perform better with Civs like, the Zulu and, Mongolia and stuff like that, and maybe not do so well with like the Netherlands.
Well, yeah, because Zulu and Mongolia are better Civs. I'd like to point out that even in the constrained example you gave just now, even with that, it would be difficult to pin down the reason the AI is performing better, because we see this in games with humans, where like character performance or whatever, like in something like League of Legends, does not necessarily track. Somebody can get, or like the community's knowledge can improve to the point where a previously bad option starts to look good. You also see that in things like Pokemon, where like the meta for generations ago now, like Gen 4 and 5, will sometimes get shaken up because somebody figures out some new interaction between the options And now like something that was previously in the low tiers, like never used, goes all the way up to OU, or gets banned outright. And that's like a decade after the meta was supposedly settled, right? So we see stuff like that too. And is that overpowered all along? Well, probably technically, but nobody knew it. And that's a hole that the AI could easily fall into as well, just because it's training against itself. So it's not going to notice those types of vulnerabilities. That's why people figured out how to beat AlphaGo for a little bit again, because they found that it had some blind spots in its strategy. So even though it could beat the best Go player in the world, if you found out the weaknesses of it, like a much inferior player could beat it back.
And even if the AI testing doesn't actually tell you what the specific problem is, it's at least a red flag to tell you that, hey, there might be a problem with this particular civ or faction. And then that's why
there's some reason it's happening. You just need to figure that what that is.
That's a really expensive red flag, on staff. A really expensive red flag.
Yeah, and it's going to be tough to balance.
Because usually your community can tell you pretty quickly, oh, hey, this is overpowered.
And sometimes they're right. Sometimes.
This is why post-release you end up with a lot bigger changes than they do when they're alpha and beta testing, because not only does the community find that faster, humans are more adaptable than the AI at trying new solutions to things or noticing that there's a synergy between things.
Well, plus as a dev, you have to be mindful of even if the community's wrong, if enough of them are wrong, maybe they're right anyway, because you do want to sell your game. So you have to also balance that factor, which can be a little obnoxious.
You can't.
There are still tons of people who will still, with a straight face, tell you that innovative ideas are good in EU4 for single player play, and I'm like, well, I mean,
that is the most guffaw-inducing thing I've heard in a while.
But like, to a lot of people, that's reality. And depending on what you're choosing to put into your game versus not, or how you're intending to balance it, those people play your game too. So even if they're wrong about how the game is mechanically, if they want the game to be a certain way, well, maybe you do tweak it for a little while. I don't know. It's also just hard to balance stuff that it only sees its potential at very high levels of skill and otherwise is bad. Because then what do you do with that? Especially if you're only releasing one version of the game. Like you don't have a version for competitive professional play and then another version for regular play. So now you need to make this thing playable to regular people without breaking it at the competitive level. Well, sometimes that's not possible.
Well, do the Civ Rev technique, where everything was broken, and because everything was broken, nothing was broken.
Oh yeah, you can do that, although that will definitely make it non-viable at the competitive levels.
Civ Rev was competitive for a while, until it got surpassed.
I mean, there's going to be like no lasting pro scene for something like that, though.
Well, yeah, there's no Xbox 360 anymore, so...
Yeah, well, there still wouldn't be, I don't think, with Civ Rev, because there's newer Civ games, and Civ's not really a great vehicle for competitive professional play anyway.
Hey, didn't stop people from starting an esports league or an esports team.
People do that for all kinds of games that it's like not really a good fit for it. And usually what happens is they have to mod the game considerably or implement a ton of rules just to make the playing field at least somewhat reasonably determined by the skill of the player in the scenario. Because they have to do that in the Paradox games too. You can't just like boot up a game of Hearts of Iron or EU4 unmodded with no house rules and just let people do what they want and get something where skill is even the prime. Well, it probably is still the primary determinant of outcome, but there's a whole lot of noise there too. And that noise will really gum up competitive rankings. So they'll try to control for it. And there are mods like that where they just like make an East versus West fight with identical resources and faster techs or whatever, so you can get to the action right away. And then you do have skill representation. But yeah, as the games are released, no way. And that's also true in Civ. There's just no way you can balance so many Civs, so many potential types of start positions, etc., in a way where you're going to have like competitively fair outcomes without constraining it. And that's not what the game was designed to do. The game was designed to be fun for a single person playing through most of the time, because that's the vast majority of the user base's time spent is a single person playing a single player game against the AI and going for a victory condition of their choosing, even if it is an inferior victory condition. Lol.
I'm just remembering what the Civ leaderboards look like. It's like, you get a deity turn 0 science victory. And there's like 400 of them, and they're all ranked exactly the same because leaderboards are just rife with cheaters and bullcrap.
So basically the exact same thing as the EU4 leaderboards when they tried that.
And every other leaderboard ever, which makes it funny when any game that comes out today or plans to come out in the future talks about the incentive to rise up the leaderboard because, that should be the reason you're playing the game is to get higher on the leaderboard. No, that's not how games work.
Well, if you're playing a ranked game, like you actually have an ELO and stuff, but that's not what these games were built to do.
Yeah. A Tarkov leaderboard? There's no way that would be legitimate.
Yeah. Will probably be about as legitimate as the Civ and Paradox examples, roughly, give or take.
So can we rename them cheater boards?
Basically.
I feel like what they ought to do is just, you're on the cheater board, you're on the leaderboard in the top, and you clearly have invalid results. Autoban.
Well, that's what they do for speed runs and stuff like that, but some of that stuff is harder to tell. Like when people just shave a few seconds off, well, that could be legitimate and not them hacking. But when they get an extra minute or two in there on something that's been going for a while, and everybody goes, "Hold up, where did you find an extra minute?"
Well, usually...
Well, in most cases, if someone shaves a full minute or something out of a speedrun, it's because there's a new route found or a new trick found that saves time. And it's very obvious then. Like, people aren't asking how. They look at it, and they either see that very special time save or they don't. And if they don't, then they start looking for splicing and stuff. But
yeah,
normally, somebody won't be that egregious.
Just a couple seconds this week, and a couple months from now, a couple more seconds.
So
it's really hard to fake a speed run if you're not a good runner already, though, too.
Yeah.
Because there's some things that are obvious to other high-level speedrunners that would not be obvious if you haven't done thousands of attempts of this game.
We're way off topic.
Sorry.
Yeah, a little bit.
It's okay. Let's go to the next topic, which is a meta topic, because PolyCast is now available on iTunes again.
Woo!
Rather, it's available on Apple Podcast, which means it's available on all those Apple products, and whatever else Apple Podcast is readable on. That was mostly done because I was tired of sitting around and wondering why all of our stuff was doing nothing, and also because I felt like it.
Didn't something in the back end break, and Dan was just like, ugh, about fixing it?
I'm not sure exactly why, but I do know that it's not hard for me to manage from where it is, as long as I was reading everything right. I think I was. I passed reading in high school. But I intend to go towards the route of adding it to all the other podcast services, assuming that anybody actually looks at it on Apple Podcasts. Because when I went on iTunes and did a search for it, it gave me a whole bunch of political shows that I could literally care less about. And then I typed in the actual word PolyCast, and it wouldn't give me the actual channel, but it would give me individual episodes from it. So, surprise, surprise, Apple search sucks. But
Did you try the PolyCast?
no, because I did not put the PolyCast. It's not an official part of the branding, so it doesn't count.
Okay.
Also, just about everything ignores the anyway.
Usually, but you never know.
But yeah, it's there. You can try to find it if you want. I'm going to put a link on the website. Hopefully there'll be a link on the Twitter, and in the next episode's show notes, they'll probably be there. And then eventually we'll put it on Spotify and all the other fun places you can put it. And then during the process of doing all this, I discovered that one of the episodes of the show on the website was actually defective. Episode 66 of PolyCast was missing half of itself, and we couldn't figure out what happened to it. So I asked Dan to give me a copy from his archives. Dan Q, the original creator of this show, and the guy who did the editing back then. So I had him pull up his version. It was also corrupted. So yeah, I'm not sure exactly what happened, but that must have happened quite a while ago. But it happened not as long ago as I was in college, because there was this... let me put it this way. My grandmother passed away a few years ago, and during the process of getting all of her stuff taken care of, some of the stuff ended up in a box at my parents' place, and in said box I found a micro SD card that had been mine during college years, when I actually had an MP3 player. This is back in 2010 era. And lo and behold, I put in the key and it has the PolyCast on it. And it has that episode and it's not ruined. So we've recovered the episode, thank goodness. But it just makes me remember I am old.
Hooray for having things on physical media.
Yeah.
Screw you for saying that makes you feel old.
You weren't even on the podcast yet.
But I was also well out of grad school already. In
You
2010.
whippersnappers.
You see kids.
Also, more and more episodes are being released on the YouTube channel. Right now it's going through Season 2. All that fun stuff about Civ 4 and Civ Revolution and Civ Colonization is up right now. Or is going up right now. And we're going to keep it going all the way up till all the episodes of PolyCast are on the YouTube channel. And then maybe, if I'm really feeling bored and really want to do something active, I'll go through all of the existing episodes on YouTube and put in the program data for all of them, since currently most of them just say release date. For more information, go to show notes link.
Templates.
But yeah, we're gonna put all of our stuff back where everyone can see it, so everyone can see all the stuff that Dan and Co did 15 years ago.
Yep, there's that feeling of being old again. Holy crap!
Don't worry, Mackie. We're getting on our way to 1,000.
I also created a PolyCast Reddit, but don't know if we're gonna do anything with that. I just wanted to make sure we had the placeholder.
Nice.
So
Our own Reddit that I can finally grief post.
If you want a grief post, go right ahead. I'll make you a mod.
Yes, the moderators can't stop me anymore.
Oh boy.
What are we on the board for today?
Just some mythical, mythological, and legendary choices for Civs, potentially. It's a Reddit thread started by Ulfrite. After seeing this thread, with Civs led by people who are never official leaders, got me thinking about a version of Civs where all the Civs are legendary or mystified rulers. And that's all we get. So, with many comments of people making suggestions and whatnot. And I don't know, like a lot of Civs, it would be hard to do that with. But I was thinking maybe you could expand this to people who never were leaders, but would be amusing to have as leaders for countries. And then then you could have all kinds of nonsense in such a game, because we're not taking it serious in the first place.
You could
So
also
in addition to things like you could have like Romulus and Odysseus and like what people are suggesting in the same game is like Robin Hood and like Ben Franklin. Like all those could be legit leaders.
You could also have mythologized or more heavily mythologized versions of existing leaders. So you could have a version of Gilgamesh, for example, who isn't based on the historic Gilgamesh, but in fact based on the mythological epic poem Gilgamesh.
Someone suggested Uncle Sam. That would also be an interesting leader.
I think John Henry would be a better choice.
I just like the avatar of Uncle Sam being at least an option in a game like this.
Like Uncle Sam, though.
Uncle
really
Sam
creepy.
needs you to get wrecked.
No, he needs you to do the wrecking.
Well, it depends on whether you're his enemy or his subject. Maybe in the leader screen, he does say that you need to get wrecked.
It's true. When you declare war on him, oh, it's time for you to get wrecked, son.
Yeah, and I think this game would be more fun if it were made with it being over the top with caricatures rather than trying to be taken too seriously.
Nobody takes it seriously anyway, so what's the point?
Yeah, well, that's true.
Well, I don't know about nobody. There are people who take which civs get in very seriously.
Paul Bunyan. Could you imagine?
Paul Bunyan, Johnny Appleseed, that would be great.
Yeah. All
King
kinds of
Arthur for
nonsense.
England, of course. Who's the most famous? Who would we put in for Canada? Who is the most famous mythological Canadian?
Wayne Gretzky.
Terrence and Phillip.
I think Wayne Gretzky,
I think
like in his hockey outfit, would be great.
Yeah, Wayne Gretzky has to be there.
You already got the ice hockey rinks
He doesn't
ready.
declare war on you; he checks you.
Fit right to the boards.
Who's next? Spain.
Don Quixote?
That would be good, although I would want somebody who's nope, Don Quixote works, as long as he's cartoony.
Leader of
Odysseus?
Russia, Anatoly Karpov,
I don't know who that is.
the chess grandmaster.
Oh,
Well, I was thinking for Russia, it could just be the anal congelation soldier from the Napoleonic front.
Or they could take somebody from like they could take it like a Red Alert style caricature. That would also work.
Or
One of
we
the
could
things
just not have Russia. That would work too.
One of the things that's interesting
Gotta
and
have Russia.
amusing about this thread is that there's like an entire sub-thread in the responses to this about like which characters like in the actual game are probably mythological, or who have very little actual evidence that they existed. One of the more interesting one is somebody posted that Ambiorix might not be real, and that Caesar may have just invented him to justify war crimes in Gaul, since Caesar was the only person who ever mentioned that this person existed.
There are very, very few books about any Gauls that were written by anyone who met any actual living Gauls from that time. So the fact that Caesar wrote about only him could just mean that he was the only Roman who ever heard of him. I find it highly unlikely that somebody with that name or somebody with that persona did not exist, and Caesar made it up for a better story or for justification, because Caesar was not, like, if you read the Latin Caesar wrote, very clearly not a talented orator. If you read it, it's definitely not the same as like reading something that Cicero or Ovid wrote, or even Livy. So like you can tell just by the Latin that he's probably not bull crapping. It's just
I would say the most likely thing is that, as current leaders do and every other leader in history does, there's probably a good chunk of reality in there plus some embellishment. That's usually how it goes, because you're trying to paint yourself as looking better than the person you're going to go fight against or whatever, or just make yourself represented as positively as you can get away with. So, yeah.
We can have Zeus for Greece and Odin for Norway.
Oh yeah, we have to have some of the Hindu gods too.
Which one? Do you want which one is the one? Do we want Ganesh?
Hey, the game supports multiple leaders. We can have them
Ganesh
all.
would be my personal preference, but yeah, we could have a few.
And be very careful not to say Slanesh.
Well, I don't know if that's a mythological leader in a historic based game, but
No.
you might be able to sneak that in there as an Easter egg, maybe.
No, I want Sid Meier in there as the Easter egg.
He's already been in Civ 4, so why not?
there's precedent.
You could actually have the Sid Meier leaderhead in Civ 4.
Yes, I forget how you got it, but you could do it. And he was the leader of the barbarian civilization.
Yeah. Yeah, if you world builder swapped some stuff, you could get him rather than anybody else, and he would then be playing without traits.
I see Amaterasu for Japan. Obviously, what's the name of the pharaoh A10 Khan something? The one pharaoh that wasn't part of the regular dynasty scheme in Egypt. Like, if you look through ancient Egyptian history, there's like 100 years where there was a different pharaoh government, and then it went back to the old ways. But get that guy, because we're pretty sure that the character from Yu-Gi-Oh! Is based on that pharaoh. So,
And then also have some of the Egyptian gods, of course.
yeah, I don't know if we want to have the executive producer come out of there.
So yeah, you could make a very entertaining game out of this. You'd still want it to have good mechanics, though, so that people would want to play it.
They just make it a regular Civ game, but have mythological leaders instead.
Yeah.
Call it Civ of Mythology and just go for it. Actually, this might be a better mod idea for some of those intrepid modders out there. You don't even have to make all the gameplay stuff, just make art for mythological leaders.
All right, firing up Stable Diffusion.
Is there a Stable Diffusion for 3D animated stuff yet?
I don't know.
I think we've lost the plot.
We
had a
usually
plot?
do at some point. Well, there's a vague direction to it.
Yeah,
Civ
true. I mean,
involved.
we have a start, a middle, and an end, so there is direction. That's true.
Not one direction, her.
We gotta start thinking about how the current game will be remembered.
Yes.
Apparently.
Now, now that we know Civ 7, how is 6 going to be remembered in franchise history? It has more players than 5, but does everybody love it the way people did 5? Which, I'm
I
not
decree that it will
sure.
be remembered as the second best Civ game. That
After
is my
Civ 4.
decree. Behind Civ 4, yes.
You don't think that 7 could possibly be better than Civ 4?
Well, who
This
knows?
ranking is
Ultimately,
existent.
7 might be
game.
better than 4 even, but it hasn't come out yet. So this is
Yeah, we
how
can't judge it until it comes out and we play it.
Civ 6 will be remembered by my decree. But yeah, it should be second best so far.
I personally feel like for me it's a toss up between 5 and 6. I think each of them does things better than the other, and it's really hard for me to like pick one or the other.
I think Civ 6.
I think 6 is obviously better than 5 personally, just because it is better incentive structures. Like you may or may not like the districts or whatever, but you just have more incentive to compete with your opponents in Civ 6 than 5, and you have that earlier. And that's a big thing on its own. But also the policy card interactions just lend themselves to a lot more long-range planning and pushing your advantage in that regard more than anything 5 had to offer,
I
with
think
its
the-
work or micro or policies or whatever.
I think the big thing for me
Oracle.
is just that there's a few mechanics that I think 5 executed very, very well, and that 6 did the same ideas but didn't do them as well. And it
I
just
agree. I just don't think that's enough
yeah, like
to
I
overcome
like-
the gameplay flaws of
there are-
5 that 6
yeah,
fixed.
Yeah, there's a lot of things like with city states that I think Civ 5 did way better than Civ 6. Although Civ 6 does also do some of its own cool things with city states, like being able to like levy their units and stuff. But like Civ 5 was better about giving the city states quests and stuff like that. And then like the World Congress in Civ 5 is just like head and shoulders way better than what they did with the World Congress in Civ 6.
Yeah, I'd agree with that.
I also like how some of the trade route rules worked in Civ 5 as opposed to Civ 6, but a lot of that's more
Civ
nitpicky.
5.
What was that, Canus?
Ideologies in Civ 5.
While those were nice, I do think that Civ 6 is better. When you're comparing the ideology aspect to the policy card aspect in 6.
Yeah, well, I don't think the ideology thing translates very well into Civ 6 because Civ 5, like from the start, had you locking yourself into the policy trees, and Civ 6 doesn't do that like at all. So I mean, maybe in like an early version of Civ 6, like if you remember when Civ 6 first came out, like the leaders had like what they call them legacy bonuses or whatever, where like you got stacking bonuses from like your early game policy or government decisions. Do we still get those? I thought those were cut completely.
Those are card options, yeah.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, they were turned into cards, but when in the original in vanilla, it was just like a abstract bonus that was just applied like the whole game.
Yeah.
And so the ideology thing might have worked a little bit better with that, but since they basically cut that and turned it into cards that you can swap in and out, like, yeah, I don't think ideologies would work in Civ 6.
They would need to be a separate mechanic than government.
Yeah, it would need to be, or it would need to be something more, maybe even more tied to culture than to the actual government.
Yeah, but even in 5, like I wasn't too impressed by the impact those had on the game ultimately, in terms of like how they influenced diplomacy or whatever. It was really just about which bonuses you wanted. But if it comes down to like managing bonuses and planning around that, then 6's system is just better for it.
Well, you also don't play the culture game at all, so the ideology.
Not true. I don't play like the win by tourism game. You do need to generate and manage your culture in order to unlock very useful things in the culture tree, which I do use because I want cores, I want armies. Those are pretty important.
Yes,
performing well militarily.
But I'm talking about the stuff that you get from the ideologies in Civ 5 is not directly connected to that in Civ 6 style. Like, I know in Civ 5 when you played, you had very little interest in culture.
Yeah.
That's what I was talking about.
Because it wasn't tethered to essentially a second tech tree. It was its own thing.
It didn't unlock a bunch of great stuff for his armies back then, so it didn't matter.
Well,
because the two were injured.
It did once you got to ideology stuff, but...
It's not like I didn't use it at all. I just didn't emphasize it.
Time invested versus what else you could be using some of the same resource or something for.
One of the big issues I always had with the ideology system in Civ 5 was that, like, part of the intent of it was supposed to be to, like, factionalize the civs at the end of the game to create conflict. But what often happened in my games is that the civs that were already like friendly or allied with each other ended up just picking the same ideologies anyway. So like the battle lines were always drawn exactly where they were before the ideologies came into play, and it ended up being kind of moot. Not always. There were some times where it did lead to interesting outcomes where old friends became enemies because of ideological differences. But in a lot of the games I played, it was just, we're already, the first player to get there picked democracy or whatever, and then all the other civs that were allied or friendly towards that civ picked democracy too. And then
I didn't have that happen. That never happened to me that way, except like once or twice.
Oh, okay. Well, maybe I was an exception, or maybe you were the exception. Who knows?
I think it's a confirmation bias thing. I think it was pretty balanced. We just happened to see the extremes.
Possibly.
But why did everybody turn into a hug box?
They can't hug box you if they're not on the map.
I think Civ 6, though, is always going to suffer from the fact that it got kind of cold reception at launch, despite the launch version of Civ 6 being way better than the launch version of Civ 5.
Yeah, I think 5 should have had the most cold reception on launch.
Yeah, like people were very patient with Civ 5. Like,
well, I wasn't.
There were things that did not work early.
A lot of people were. I was not, though.
A lot of people gave up on Civ 5 until Gods and Kings came out.
Yeah, and I didn't see that as much with Civ 6, because I have several friends, and I've said this before on the show, I have several friends who just never got into Civ 6, and I kept telling them, well, now there's expansions out, try out the expansions, and they just never did. But those same people who also were cold at the launch of Civ 5 did come around when Gods and Kings came out, so it's
because the primary difference here is most of the people who didn't like Civ 6 when it first came out were upset with things that were fundamentally wrong with the game that couldn't be changed afterwards, whereas a lot of the problems with Civ 5 were balance and, actual whether it worked or not. So by the time you got to the point where Gods and Kings came out, the game had matured enough that, the art style was acceptable, the mechanics were better than they had been when the game first came out, and the look and feel of the game felt... Like, I remember when Civ 5 came out, people liked the way it looked, but also were very upset because it didn't work very well. And then, by the time Gods and Kings came out, most of those issues were fixed, and they were moving on to the point where, yeah, it works now. Now we just need to make it more fun. Whereas a lot of people at Civ 6's launch were like, I hate this art style, I'm never coming back.
Yeah, I'm always surprised in turn-based strategy, the number of people who are turned off completely by the visuals. But, that is a thing, apparently.
It confounds me as well. I've said many times in the show, I like Civ 6's visuals compared to Civ 5's because I think it communicates so much more information to the player.
I'm on the opposite side, but I don't hate it.
The only thing about...
There's some things that could use some tweaking that we talked about in the past, like, when there's hills or not, or that kind of thing.
Yeah, that's still... But they tweaked it a little bit, although it could still be tweaked more. It's better. It's livable and playable.
Plus Civ 6 was functional on release. Mm-hmm. I had some problems with it, especially in the UI, but not as much as Civ 5. And in Turncast, we couldn't play Civ 5 for quite some time after the game released, just because you could not complete a multiplayer game in Civ 5 initially. It just did not work, period.
And that lasted for years. Because if you go back...
I don't remember exactly how long it lasted, but it was some time before everyone moved to Civ 5, just because we couldn't get it working.
I'm pretty sure it was when Gods and Kings came out. Because I remember I've just been going through all the older episodes of PolyCast, and Civ 5 came out at the end of Season 4, and unlike all the other Civ releases, after the release of Civ 5, Civ 4 remained the main topic for the next season, because so many people didn't play Civ 5. And then Gods and Kings came out, and Civ 4 disappeared. And then when Civ 6 came out, there was no more talk about Civ 5, hardly at all. So the difference in reception was pretty massive.
Yeah.
But there's still a lot of people who were turned off by the art style in Civ 6. And I don't really understand that because it doesn't look that bad. I think
Civ 6's handling of units is just strictly better than 5, too. And that's a big deal, because that's a substantial percentage of the gameplay.
I'm mad that you can't just disable the animations and you have to watch the stupid thing. And I really
I meant the unit design, not the UI.
Yeah. I really hate that noise that plays every time there's a combat. It's like boom, 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 boom. I don't care. I'm not a barbarian. Stop showing me that.
Yeah, I also agree that it's obnoxious that you turn off the animation for sure.
Or the sound.
Yeah, in that regard, I was definitely talking about the the unit stacking, the introduction of corps and armies, and that kind of stuff. Like they've done some work on improving the congestion that Civ 7 could expand on if they're keeping the unit per hex or tile model, which they probably will.
I liked the promotions in Civ 5 better. I think
I don't know.
I think the Civ 6 promotions are bleh.
Man, eesh. Maybe I'm forgetting what 5 had to offer, but I think Civ 6's promotions are pretty good.
For me, it varies a lot based on unit class. For example, like the promotion tree for recon units in Civ 6 is way better than the promotion tree for recon units in Civ 5, in large part because in Civ 6, at least the recon units have upgrades and are useful throughout the entire game, as opposed to Civ 5, where they're good for like the classical era and then they all die.
Well, that's all they were needed for.
Yeah, but the thing is they did have some cool promotions. It's just that by the time you got them, you couldn't use them anymore.
They didn't get experience from anything that wasn't combat. Like, if you got an explorer, or if you had a scout in Civ 5, the way you got experience on it was, you popped a goody hut, or you killed a barbarian somehow.
And they were not the most robust units, so it was hard to get that.
Yeah. So yeah, promotions for scouts are definitely better, but for everything else,
well, there was also the weird stuff that Civ 5 did with some of the unit types, like what was it? Like I think I remember, was it the anti-cav line? It was like super weird. Like I remember Lancers were like just a wacky unit in Civ 5 because like the units that turned into Lancers were like not the same class of unit. And then there were weird things with ranged units where like, because they kind of changed the way they work mid-game, like a lot of the early game promotions would end up kind of not being useful for them.
That was true until Brave New World, and then they fixed that. Because it used to be that the archers would upgrade into riflemen, but instead
they become melee units.
Yeah, but that's not what happened after the Brave New World expansion.
Yeah, they added like the machine gun or whatever.
They added machine gunner and anti-tank gunners and stuff like that. And
I think even then, the Lancer line was was kind of weird, even in Brave New World.
Not really, because it was always the anti-cav line. Once Brave New World happened, Spearmen upgraded into Lancers. So you had there was the cav line, and then the anti-cav line, and then the warrior line. And the Lancers were originally an orphan unit that you had to produce from nowhere, and then they changed it so that it would upgrade from the Spearman line, so that there would be a unit type in every era. And that's a problem that Civ 6 still has, is that you only get unit updates approximately every other era, and they're offset.
Yeah, that's something I would definitely like to see Civ 7 improve on, is making sure that every era... In fact, I would actually like for there to be multiple upgrades of certain unit classes in each era, so that there's like a difference between like a high and low Middle Ages infantry, so that even just teching one or two techs ahead of another Civ confers a tactical advantage in terms of the units available, as opposed to having to go all the way into the next era.
Or you could tether some of these improvements to something other than the tech tree.
Yeah. Or maybe alternatively, just have like text that just give buffs to units or something.
No, so, like, please no. We don't need that.
Yes, just like Hearts of Iron. Yes,
no, things like never.
Hearts of Iron.
Oh my god.
Please no.
No, God, please no. Oh, that's what we need. We need a Paradox style unit designer. You will choose what goes in the right hand, what goes in the left hand, what goes on the knee pad, what goes...
Alpha Centauri.
We already tried that with Beyond Earth.
Both of them.
We can even straightforward in the tank designer for Civ tank.
Please, no.
I do, however, really like that Civ 6 made the distinction between like heavy cavalry and light cavalry.
Yes, that was good.
I like that a lot. I hope they keep doing that moving forward. Yeah,
it's a shame that the anti-cav units aren't good against cavalry.
Yeah, it'd be nice if those worked for their intended purpose, but
like fixing a fundamental problem that existed since the game started.
It's not a modern game if counter units don't actually counter the thing that they're designed to counter.
Also, why can I kill a city with archers if it has a wall?
What?
What?
What? I don't think a city with a wall should be able to shoot without a garrison, so hey.
I agree. I think cities as attacking units is stupid.
Or
You
at the
could
very
make the
least,
wall like a multiplier, so if the archer shoots at something inside the wall, it does less damage. That's probably the most reasonable.
or at the very least, a city without a garrison should just be exceptionally weak. I mean, you can still like levy a militia or something, but they're throwing rocks and attacking with pitchforks and torches, so they're not going to be particularly effective against an actual army.
They rustled up all the old bored grandmas and had them throw knitting needles.
Also, why is it that if the city strength is 20 and then I buy a knight, it suddenly becomes 35 across the entire empire?
Yeah,
it's
in that
really
one
good
city
model.
would make sense. But then suddenly their capital, which is halfway across the map, is suddenly super strong. It's like, excuse you?
Yeah, I would very much like to see civs actually have to like invest in defensive military forces as opposed to just building one unit somewhere in the map and suddenly all of their cities are stronger.
Or never building a single unit on the ground, but you building a battleship, and all of a sudden the cities are strength 100 in the industrial era. Like, that's baloney.
Yeah, especially considering how Civ 6 had so much overlapping bombardment, because you not only had the cities, but you also had the encampment districts that
And
were
the
bombarding.
units.
And then, I mean, you didn't even need the units inside. But yeah, if you had the units inside, like your units in invading army are getting peppered by like 4 or 6 ranged attacks. And it's just like my goodness, this person didn't build a military. Why is invading them so hard?
It's not really if you have a lot of units, but you usually have to wait until
Right, but if the
artillery.
defender didn't build a military at all, you shouldn't need a large military to do a lot of damage. And you, unfortunately, in Civ 6's rules, you do.
This is one of a few reasons that Civ 4 is the best Civ.
Yeah, but Civ 4 is old.
That's true. It is old. But
I
Civ
was-
7 does not have to copy 5 and 6 with the ridiculous city strengths.
Somebody's pointed out another part of this thread about one of the things that slowed down adoption for Civ 5 was the modding scene. Because Civ 4's modding scene was so strong, you could still keep on playing. Matter of fact, you could probably still find new mod things because we haven't had as good of a mod support for a while.
Have you ever heard of Caveman to Cosmos?
Yes, and I've never played it, but I've still heard of it because it's.
It will probably be a topic at some point in the future.
Are you saying we're gonna have a 4-way multiplayer of Caveman to Cosmos?
No, but I'm saying we might talk about Caveman to Cosmos on a future episode.
Okay. Oh, I see why you want the next topic. Well, then let's do it.
No, I don't want the next topic because of that. What is the
Let
next topic
hatred
anyway?
flow through you and generate your power.
Oh, are we talking about the Beyond Earth video?
Yeah.
Okay, so this guy is the one who did the multiplayer game with the 5-second turn timer in Civ 6. He decided that he wanted to see if Beyond Earth was really as bad as he thought it was. So he decided to get 8 people together in multiplayer with an 80-second turn timer without any DLC, and then without even looking up or even trying the game again to see how it worked or how the game needed to be treated in order to behave, started playing it. So he starts the video with, "Is Beyond Earth good? No." And he could have stopped it there, and it would have saved everybody a lot of trouble, because this video was a lot of pain and very frustrating to watch as somebody who actually knew what was going on, because the person who was making the video literally did the most dumb things I've ever seen. I'm gonna
For content.
send a settler into the miasma by itself. I'm going to send a settler next to aliens by itself.
It's called things you would never do if you've even played a few games of Civ. You would have learned your lesson by losing them. And like, nope, gotta escort.
That sounds like typical YouTuber throwing for content. All good.
Yeah, except they started out by saying, we're not going to use any DLC. And you just stop right there, because even the people who like Beyond Earth recognize that without Rising Tide, it's not good. So
Rising Tide, we've said this many times, Rising Tide is a good expansion. It's a good expansion for a not good game.
Well, now, is it like Paradox though, where one person having the DLC lets the other people play it? Because if not, then I
No.
mean, you might have to just play it with what everyone can do.
Well, that's probably the behind-the-scenes reason, but they could have said that and not made it look like they were trying to make it fail from the start. But I guess they obviously were.
How much does Rising Tide cost now? I mean, I
was
can't
gonna
imagine
say.
it's more than like $5 or $10, maybe. Like it.
Well,
Surely they're not still selling it for $30 or $40, right?
Given that
I
Civ
don't know.
6 is still on sale for $6 itself right now, and that I go on Humble Bundle all the time and see Beyond Earth Bundle for $10 for both the base game and the expansion, it can't be that expensive.
It's the equivalent of taking all the people he played with out for lunch. Come on.
No, dang it. Yeah, they're okay. So Steam still has Rising Tide listed at $30.
Yes, but the Steam franchise is always on sale. The Civ franchise is always on sale somewhere at any given time. And I say that slowly like an angry person because I stumbled over my words so effectively that it was unintelligible.
Yeah, I feel like it really would not have been too much trouble. That if you're going to plan on making content like this, like you could have grabbed Rising Tide on sale, bought it for the people you're going to play with, at probably like a $5 price point, and played with the expansion, as opposed to just being like, oh, well, one of us doesn't have it, so clearly we can't play with it at all.
Nope.
And also maybe potentially learn something about how the game works at all, so you don't literally make yourself unviewable and boring. And there was literally nothing in the video that was actually entertaining. It was just people making jokes about how bad the game was without ever describing or explaining why the game was actually bad.
And
well,
tough crowd.
One of the big frustrations that I have with this video as well is the first two comments, the two top comments, are from Potato McWhiskey and Spiffing Brit. And Potato McWhiskey says, I've tried to make videos on this game many times, and to be honest, it is always too painful to get through. Godspeed. And like, oh man, hearing that coming from somebody who is one of like the premier content creators for Civilization games is kind of really disappointing.
I don't know why he would do that other than just, I don't know. It makes me think
like the game, so hey.
It might make me.
If you're not having fun, it's hard to make content on the video, regardless of the reason. And this I can say from experience, although it's been a little while now. But even so, if you are at a point in the game where you are not enjoying it, that makes it really hard to still make the video and like still make what you're saying in the video, even up to whatever standard you had previously.
I don't know. I make plenty of videos about games I don't like, and I seem to manage just fine.
Well, yeah, but you're not like let's playing them.
Oh, well, yeah, that's true.
We all agree that Beyond Earth needed another expansion to be really good, right?
Yeah, well, and quite frankly, I mean, Civ 6 needed 2 expansions, or Civ 5 needed 2 expansions to be really good. Like, Gods and Kings was good. It was a huge upgrade over vanilla, but it was still, like, not great. Like, Civ 4 was still, I think, clearly by far the better game at that point, and it wasn't until Brave New World that it was like, oh, maybe Civ 5 actually is on par with Civ 4 now.
In terms of full game content, yes.
Yeah, and the fact that it actually works and stuff, yeah.
Civ 5 worked when Gods and Kings came out. They fixed all the bugs by that point.
Yeah, I'm just saying, like, in terms of being both feature complete and functional, the second expansion is where it was actually competitive. But like, there's still, obviously, because I prefer Civ 4's design, I'm just going to prefer Civ 4 anyway. But yeah, by the second expansion, it was a pretty good game in terms of people who enjoy Civ 5.
I was going to say Civ 4 before Beyond the Sword was about like Civ 5 was before Brave New World.
I don't know.
I think it's pretty similar.
Because Warlords added a lot too.
I remember Warlords adding great generals and a couple new traits. And
Warlords added the vassalage mechanic.
And
which
the
was
vassalage
pretty huge.
mechanic.
Yeah.
One of Phil's favorites.
Well, I have love and hate for that system. I wouldn't mind it being reworked and returning to Civ.
Well, it's a great way to speed up the end of the game. If you can just vassalize someone instead of having to conquer all their cities or their capital and then, get the war and then hopefully the game over with. Like, that's great.
Yeah.
Like, if you are clearly going to win, they should just surrender.
It lets you get the victory screen in a turncast game.
Yeah, that's true.
Or, I
Speaking
mean,
of
even
which,
if even if you're not going to have a vassalage mechanic like in Civ 4, like you could at least maybe have like a surrender button that just gives. I mean, I guess they kind of have that. Can you sell your capital in Civ 5 and Civ 6?
No.
I don't think you can.
No.
So it would be kind of nice to just have a surrender button for, the civs who are way overmatched in wars to just give up their capital just to get it over with.
Well, see, there is a famous EU4 game that did that, and it's quite commonly revealed as the dumbest thing they added to the game, that patch.
Well, we're talking about ending the game on the spot, though, not like this person is going to hit a button that forces you to peace out with them sooner and constrains the amount of war score you can take mechanically. That's a very different button.
I know, but it's for the joke.
Yeah, I'm just saying. The EU4's unconditional surrender button is a special kind of bad that deserves special kinds of active disrespect that a general AI surrender is not even in the neighborhood of. Because you had, like, in the 1990s, Warlords 2 had a feature where if you were truly running away with the game would acknowledge that and be like, okay, you want to just win now?
Well,
you could say no and keep fighting the AI to the last city, but by the time you got that screen, there was pretty much no question you were going to win. So it was just whether you wanted to do that or not.
As Hearts of Iron has taught us, the game would make the AI surrender to somebody who didn't do the fighting.
Well, not that game, because it was conditional on your relative strength to everyone else, not some like weird war score system. So yeah, if you somehow managed to take like half the cities in the world and be that dominant while not doing any fighting, just like sneak taking cities, then great, good job, you win. But even against the AI, you couldn't do that. And this is a 90s game, early 90s game.
You have won a domination victory. Oh, crap. Back when domination didn't mean conquest.
Yeah. Well, that's an example of it, though. It was about when you would win domination in Civ 4, is about when the AIs would all be like, okay, do you want to win now in Warlords 2 back in the day?
But yeah, about the video we were supposed to be pooping on.
I mean, I don't feel that strongly about it.
I think we've reached the end of the amount of poop that can be dropped.
That's not true. That'll never be true.
We'll never run out of YouTube poop.
Even so, I will pace this a little bit, I suppose. If we are not covering our final topic this time.
Which one is our final topic this time?
The most honest of trailers.
Oh, I think we can cover that. That'll be 5 minutes or so.
All right, then. I will take a step back for a moment.
Okay, well, yeah, I guess our final topic for the day is that there is an honest game trailers for Civilization, well, not just Civilization 6, but the Civilization series as a whole, that came out a couple months ago. And, it's an honest trailers, talking about how the funnest part of the game is the beginning of the game, and, a large chunk of playing the game is just re-rolling your start to get better resource spawns and map conditions, and then going to the end game where it becomes a slog of micromanagement, and then trying very hard not to make racist comments about all of the leaders.
Yeah, that when I watched that video, my first impression was, man, this guy is being edgy for edgy's sake, because I can't quite figure out where he got this idea that Civ was meant for people who have the... I'm not going to say it. I don't want to get in trouble.
The microslog is real, though.
Yeah, I was going to say, there's a legitimate complaint right there, and that has been through the whole series. It has gotten worse as we've gone on, but yeah.
Well, got better than worse, basically.
None of the critiques are necessarily wrong here. I mean, like I said, it's an honest trailer.
Well, I don't agree with re-rolling for starts as a necessity.
Okay. Well, it's not a necessity, but I mean,
no.
If you were competing for Hall of Fame finishes, then re-rolling for starts is reasonable. In any other context, it's silly.
Oh, I re-roll for starts all the time, so
well, sometimes you look into the face and start and go, not today with this bullshit.
If I don't see 3 corn and 3 gold start, I'm
okay. No,
re-rolling.
not that extreme.
I still have that like Tundra Hell ice start with the food that I posted like a bunch of years ago now that I actually played through in Turncast. I did fine.
Yeah, it's one of those things that the re-rolling is sometimes you go into Civ wanting that kind of challenge, and sometimes you just want a normal game,
Well,
one of my things for re-rolling,
I don't have much perspective on normal, I guess.
Well, you are a deity player.
When I re-roll, it's usually less for getting resources and more for just like the more general characteristics of the map. Like something that'll be common for me is I'll play as, civilization like, say, maybe Germany, and the game will keep spawning me on the coast. And I'm like, I don't want to be on the coast. I'm Germany.
Germany has
Yeah, or
coastal
the
water.
inverse. You're a sailing type Civ, and it doesn't put you on the water.
I mean, it's
Like,
usually
game.
pretty good about that. Like Civ 6 in particular, I feel
It's
over
been better.
prioritizes putting civs on the coast. So even when you have civs that were historically landlocked, it puts you on the coast anyway. And it's like, I don't feel like being on the coast. I'm always on the coast.
Germany is a
Germany's
weird
a
choice
good
for
example
that,
of that.
because Germany has always had a strong navy since its existence.
Okay, I mean, maybe not, but like Germany doesn't start, like its capital city isn't on a coast.
But it's on a river that connects to the coast.
Sure. Well, and
if you're drawing maps to scale in Civ, then it would be pretty reasonable for Germany's capital to be on the
it's
coast.
not that far away from the ocean. It's what, maybe 50, 40 miles?
If you have like actually as many cities as Germany has, then its capital's not on the coast. But if you only have like space for 6 cities total, it's not that unreasonable to have it be at or near the coast, or
Also,
within a few tiles.
Berlin has not always been the capital of that particular culture, so
That's true too.
where even is Aachen?
it's I think it's on the Rhine. It's over in modern day Belgium, I think, that area.
Is it near a coast?
It's on the Rhine, I think.
Yeah, Hungary being coastal would be a little more interesting.
Hungary
Can still
is
happen, of
not
course.
coastal. That's kind of the big joke. But yeah. Aachen. Maybe
Yeah,
it's
there
not
would be
on the
other
Rhine.
examples of civs, and that would be more eyebrow raising to have them be coastal. Afghanistan, put that in the game to have it be coastal.
No, Aachen is in Germany, and it is right on the border with Belgium and the Netherlands. And it is not on the Rhine, but it is connected to a river that is connected to something that does connect with the Rhine. Okay, so everybody from Europe can now laugh at how stupid I am.
Well, there's plenty enough of jokes about Americans in geography, so
Yeah, at least you were like on the right continent.
I was on the right continent and in the right area.
Yeah.
I was off by the fact that the city is
Aachen
literally
not
on
that
the
far from
border.
Belgium.
It's
Yeah, that's
literally
true.
on the border with Belgium and the Netherlands.
I admit I raised eyebrows a little when you said it was in Belgium, but other than that, I mean, it's pretty close. So
To be fair, in America, we learn very little about the Benelux other than that it is an area that deserves run over by German tanks, which is not actually true, but
that is not what we're taught in school.
I was going, wait, hold up.
Well, who knows these days, but I don't remember it that way. Of course, you'd be lucky if you even got that far in high school in the US. I got there because I was in an AP class, but most people don't make it that far.
let me tell you something about rural America. Sometimes things don't happen the way they actually happened in our history class. I distinctly remember when we were taking world history where I had to inform the history teacher that the word was pronounced Meiji, not Maihai.
Oh, butchered pronunciations are fun though.
I'm sorry, but
The Jarls of Jotunheim.
it turns out that you don't pronounce Japanese letters the way you pronounce Hawaiian letters, okay? And then he wanted to give me all this crap and wasted 5 minutes of class time, and then he went and looked it up and was like, oh, you're right. Don't ever talk again. Like, great, thanks.
Okay,
it's
I won't.
okay. It might not be pronounced Mainz in Germany, but it is after I conquered it.
That teacher got fired. Not because of me, though.
To listeners of the show, I was referencing a moment in EU4 where Canus corrected my pronunciation of Mainz, only for me to create a client state with it spelled differently. So it was very obviously going to be pronounced Mainz again. So I fixed it. I was right in the end.
This episode is now entitled Four Americans Talking About Europe.
Hey, I think we're considerably better than average at geolocating things when we hear them.
We know that Iraq is in the Middle East, and we also know that that America is not in Europe. So I think that means that we're doing better than the average American, if you believe what those stupid comedy shows always point out. But those are the ones that pick the absolute idiots off the street. So who knows?
Yeah, well, after they edit it, they find that the people who are like us who can actually answer the questions never show up.
Of course.
Yeah, what you're seeing there is our worst of worst. But the fact that people like that exist is still interesting.
It's always what did they teach you in school, and where did they teach you?
It's like you watch Family Feud, and it's like, which countries have the best drivers? And the only two countries on the list that like there's like 4 countries. It's the U.S. and then there's Canada and then China and Russia and then Iraq, because those are the only countries that Americans could name in a certain intelligence bracket, let's say.
I wouldn't know how to even rate which countries have the best drivers.
Well, it's a Family Feud question, so it's entirely based on what the audience thinks.
Oh,
Yeah, but even if I was polled as part of the audience, I would be like,
Clearly, the best drivers are not from Switzerland, because in Switzerland,
I wouldn't know how to vote as an audience member in that.
Basically, you basically get polled, and the people...
Yeah, I know, but I don't know like what metric I would even consider to picking. It would just be like throwing a dart or flipping a coin or something a few times, or like rolling a dice.
Exactly.
With like, each country assigned to a dice. It's like I don't offhand know accident statistics or anything I could use as an objective basis for evaluating the quality of these
even in a
countries' drivers.
non-objective basis, I could tell you between different cities in Texas, but not necessarily between Texas and the rest of the country.
Oh, sure, and that's true in Florida too. But like,
The
that's
way
not going to
that-
help if we're comparing between countries.
The way that you can tell the way that you can figure out what a Family Feud answer is it something that people over 50 know about? Is it something that the average person who watches no news would have heard of? And is it a slightly to extremely sexist opinion? And that's how you find out if it's that's how you answer if it's Family Feud.
Answer like you're a boomer.
Answer like you are a slightly sexist boomer, and you will do probably okay on that game.
Well, times are changing though, and so is the age bracket of the show is the same, but there's different people in those age brackets over time. So you do have to be mindful of that.
Yeah, but the people they call during the polling.
Yeah,
Or the people who actually answer a phone, which is not us.
Well,
that's true.
I answer the phone, but not to poll takers.
Well, they might not be polling by the phone forever. So, like, if you're listening to the show like next week, that might make sense. If you're catching us on a backlog 10, 20 years from now, you might want to change your strategy a little bit.
Very true. I think I might have to cut some of that conversation out.
You don't have to do anything.
Just because it's entirely non sequitorious.
Oh, well,
That's what we're famous for.
That's a great
Come
sin
on.
that we would never commit on this show. It's going even a little bit non sequitur.
Welcome to Off Topic Cast.
That episode just came out on YouTube, actually.
You thought it was an April Fool's joke, but ultimately that's where we wound up anyway.
That's right.
April Fool's
Not intentionally.
2019. 2008. Man, it's been a long time.
Yeah, I was going to say I think it was a little earlier than that, but yeah.
Well, if this one was just YouTube video and Reddit cast, because that was what all of our topics were.
We had the CFC one in there.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I
We're
guess we
trying
did
to-
have one.
We're trying to diversify our sources.
But wasn't that just a link to a YouTube video?
It was, and also it was a link to a... No, you're right, it was just a YouTube video. Although...
Still counts.
Yeah, still counts.
For our arbitrary definitions of what counts, but, you know.
I mean, whatever works for topics, ultimately.
Yep, the times they are changing. PolyCast is getting all its topics from YouTube and Reddit now, not from Civ Fanatics.
Unlikely. Now,
We'll be in trouble when our entire feed is Twitter or like TikTok. Then we're going to probably be done. But,
yeah. When we're doing Civ TikTok videos and talking about those, that's that'll be bad.
So I've been trying obliquely and somewhat unsuccessfully to get the outro to start, but somebody's not taking the hint.
Get out! All right, everyone. Thank you once again for joining us on PolyCast episode 422. This has been the MeInTeam, joined by CanusAlbinus.
If you hear all of that, I'm sorry. Enjoy the show. Otherwise, it's getting edited.
Makahlua.
Yeah, this is why Mad Jen resorted to get out sometimes.
Oh, I
MegaBearsFan.
Oops, sorry.
Now I'm curious to go look at what kind of Civ content is on TikTok, if any.
Don't. Just no. No TikTok.
Now I'm curious to go on to this questionable play.
I was listening to all the shows live at the time Madgen was on the show, so I am well aware of Get Out.
I'm just saying you need to invoke it occasionally.
Yeah, probably. Yeah, our recording is 90 minutes long, so
190 minutes long.
I remember some recordings with Mad Jin and them back then that would go over 2 hours.
Oh yeah. But
Easy
also
No, I
Awesome.
remember that too.
Back then, Dan edited stuff out and made clip shows.
Yeah,
Which-
Dan had a whole big bank of clips.
I did not inherit that, by the way.
Ah.
Civilization 3, 4, 5, Beyond Earth, and 6 sound clips, copyright Take-Two Interactive. Copyright the Polycast at thepolycast.net.